Running backs, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Jordan Mason, talking about some of these top guys. Are you willing to go to Derrick Henry here?
I'm not going to say definitely not because that would be just like too short-sighted, but I'm not drawn to him either at the same situation. Like you're still talking about a guy, and listen, he's Derrick Henry. We've seen it time and time again for years. But yeah, he's had two explosive games back to back. He has two touchdowns in both those games. If you look at Derrick Henry's props to score two touchdowns, he is obviously a dog to do that. So it comes with the territory. He's a really good player. Should be the most expensive player on the slate. Right now, I'd say he is someone that I will wait and see on, but I'm not drawn to him at that price now.
The other issue is, you know who else had a dynamic game? Justice Hill.
Justice Hill is amazing.
He's pretty good.
He really is a good player.
He's pretty good, man. He is. I probably like Henry a little bit more than you do, but that
Yeah.
price point. Okay, so if you guys are pulling it up for the first time, and we've all taken our cursory look at week 5, we're still a little ways out. I think running back's really shallow this week. We've had such value in the low tier and the mid range. Wait till we get to the low tier. I want to see where you're going here. I don't think you're going to have much below 6K. I don't think you will.
Probably not, but I could just live very comfortably in the mid range, and that's part of it. So again, I like Kyron. I know he's only a couple $100 cheaper. The thing I like it about just more outs. I do think his target upside is more. He's also been scoring a ton. There's no doubt about it. 6 touchdowns in 4 games. But I feel like the Rams are a little more reliant on him. The volume will be there. I'm not in love with the top of the running back range, though.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Jordan Mason here.
That I like him?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't like him either.
Really?
No.
Get out of town.
It's not that I want to put some parameters before all these people just label me even more disturbed than they
No,
probably
I'm
thought
not
I
trying to
was.
lead you here at all. I just thought you would like Jordan Mason.
I think he has a great floor. I think he's probably very cash viable. The guy, he's just, the price continues to rise as it should. And you just see what you're getting. And this reminds me of a little about Rachaad White. I'm not saying they're the same type of player. Rachaad White was paying dividends and dividends. And then he got to a price point last year where it was just like, what he's doing is just not good enough. And what is Jordan Mason doing in terms of additional upside? Like, okay, he could fall in the end zone again. He's not going to start catching passes. He's already hitting the 100-yard bonus. And he's been awesome. But 7,400, you just need him to keep repeating that performance. And I don't think it's a given. So I'm not like Xing him out of the pool, but he doesn't jump off the page either. I think he's going to return solid value, and that's about it.
I think you start seeing more pass catching work.
That's
That's probably where you and I differ a little bit.
that's a game changing. If you
Yeah.
think that, everything I just said goes out the window.
And I had a feeling this is where you were going, because in that sense, I would agree with you and just say play Derrick Henry, right? Like that
It's
would
the same thing. That's what I'm saying.
I know. Only 16 routes last game, but nobody was running a lot of routes. That game was never competitive. 3 targets, 2 receptions, 37 yards. They appear to be getting him a little bit more involved. 27 routes run in that loss to the Rams. It's just the volume is massive. Like 27 looks last game, 21, 21, 29. Now you're 7.5-point favorites against the Cardinals team. Let's be fair. They should be able to score some points with Trey McBride, hopefully expected back for this one. You know, I like him. I like him this week. I think Mason is, and by the way, we're quartered off into this upper tier. So I'm
Yep.
only talking about these guys right now. Doesn't mean he's my favorite play, but I would put him my number 1 for the top tier right
I go
now, at least.
I'd go Kyron just because he's a different type of player.
Sure.
But I get it. That's the key. If he gives you more outs, but I'm not gonna say ever because it's funny. I always rip on Derrick Henry, and in the past he's really shown he can do it. It's just I have trouble when you're paying a premium for a guy that has two ways to get you there. He needs 100 yards and multiple touchdowns.
Right. This Cardinals defense stinks, though.
Oh, he's terrible. Jordan Mason might have 3 touchdowns and then he'll get there. But he also could have like 23 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown.
And that
that's
doesn't
nothing.
get you. I get it. Yeah. Man, you look though. They just allowed 216 rushing yards to Washington, 186 to Detroit. I don't even count that Rams game. Their whole line was decimated on offense. Kyron couldn't find any room. I said before that was an indictment on the Rams, not praise that should be geared towards Arizona. Gave up 130 rushing to Buffalo. Give me Mason here. You're taking Kyron. I have one clear guy in the mid range. Let's see if you can guess who it is.
Probably Kenneth Walker.
No, I like him, but it's not
Okay.
Kenneth Walker.
What are we talking? What's the price range?
6K range. Maybe you'll be surprised by this. I didn't
Who,
think you would.
Brian Robinson?
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I am surprised by that.
I'm just,
Really?
yeah, I really think this Rams defense is putrid. I really do. Last game doesn't even count. They were there's no rushing attempts that you're going to see for Josh Jacobs in a spot like that. You just can't, right? You just can't do it. You can't give him the ball there on the ground. They were immediately playing from behind. The Rams have allowed 662 rushing yards. They're allowing 5 yards per attempt. They've coughed up 5 rushing touchdowns already. Across the board, they have been really bad. They're giving up chunk plays on the ground. Yeah, I think so. I'm not super interested in playing Jacobs with Jordan Love, but I'm not opposed to it either. Like if I ended up on a full out onslaught for Green Bay, I wouldn't be shocked by it this week.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's one. I'll be fascinated to see the ownership. Hopefully, people are just, maybe box score hunting a little bit and saying, yeah, I mean, this guy, he had one like crazy volume game, but other than that, not so much. Hasn't done anything. This is a huge indicator. Touchdowns are somewhat fluky. DK Metcalf last night, he falls on the 1-inch line and Kenneth Walker scores. Things like that. Josh Jacobs has no touchdowns, literally 0.
Is he
So
he's still been held out of the end zone, huh?
he has. And like, there's something to that, but there's also nothing to that at the same time.
I prefer it if I'm coming into a week like this, personally.
100%. Because that's one of the big misnomers. There's, in my opinion, no correlation to scoring from having scored.
Yes.
You're not more likely to score because you've scored. Like Kenneth Walker's not more likely to score this week because he had 3 touchdowns.
No, not at all. And Jacobs has actually been efficient on the ground. People wondered what he looked like. He's averaging over 4.5 yards per attempt. He's had some big runs, some big volume opportunities in the right spots. I guess the only question is, are we worried about Emmanuel Wilson, who also had 8 carries in that game? But Josh Jacobs appears to still be the clear passing down back as well.
That's huge too. It's a weird range because I feel like most of these guys have that same question. Kenneth Walker, really good play. I like him a lot. Charbonnet does get some volume though. ETN is, I don't know what to do. And then you've got Tank Bigsby. Brian Robinson, I thought he would have the backfield to himself. McNichols scored twice in that game. Like, what? Connor doesn't have that situation, but he's got San Francisco. And then Jacobs, and you mentioned Wilson. So what a fascinating range. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. I know what I just said about the score. The guy is just, he's attached to a good offense. He'll have many opportunities. He will be popular though.
God, did he look good in a really tough matchup yesterday? I didn't see that coming. It ended up really hurting me. I did not see that coming at all.
That was the number 1 killer of my 2 game yesterday was Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. Big time. But there's okay, I have 2 more for you. Ramondre Stevenson, against Miami, Ben, before you say no.
Yeah,
O-
no.
Okay. Those fumbling issues could end up being a problem.
He is, I don't know this, but I'm confidently saying he has used up all his get at it free squares, whatever you want to call it. He's fumbled in four straight games and he's lost 2 straight, which is even worse.
It's not good.
If he fumbles, it's gonna be real repercussions.
It concerns me a lot. And it's already a bad offense. So it's like, do you want to run that risk? One more. I know it's not the best matchup. Chuba Hubbard's workload has just been massive. I hammered the overs on him. I had receptions, I had over rushing yards, I had to score an anytime touchdown. I was over receiving yards on Deontay Johnson and to score a touchdown there as well. So I guess the DFS play translated pretty, it's like a 1-to-1 over to betting, which is, is not always the case. What about Chuba Hubbard? Just with the volume he's seeing, assuming Brooks isn't back.
Definitely. We were in line there over on Tails. In my community, we had the over on Hubbard's rushing yards, and he had 13 carries in the first half, and I was wondering if game flow would prevent it, and it certainly did not. So I don't love the matchup, but I don't fear it. And unlike Mason and Henry and some of these guys, Hubbard's not getting sure, he got a little price bump, but he's $400 more expensive than he was last week.
He's still very viable. I think he's
Very
still going to have
viable.
ownership too.
If he was 7K, I wouldn't say that's a misprice. I would say he's at the premium.
Would you prefer Chuba or Mason if Chuba was 7K and Mason was 74?
Oh, Chuba.
You just love that pass catching upside, huh?
And it's the perfect guy to ask about, because if you told me who would you prefer, I would say Chuba. If you said who do you think scores more fantasy points, I would say Mason.
So this is a range of outcomes thing for you.
And if you told me who's more likely to score 30 fantasy points, I would say Hubbard, clearly. I think Mason's floor is much better, but the range of outcomes for Hubbard, there's a world where he has 5 receptions. There's a world where he has 25 carries. There's a world where he only has 2 touchdowns on the year.
Totally understand what you're saying here. I get what you mean with Rachaad White, but the one difference, and it is a dramatic difference, is that Tampa couldn't run block last year, and Rachaad White's not great at running the football, but he has that upside in the passing game for sure. Whereas Mason is kind of the opposite. Mason's, up until last week, kind of a decimal back, really.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's where we differ. I think he is.
I get it.
If he's not, he
what?
might be the best. If he is not, he might be the best running back on the entire slate.
I think you're going to start seeing, you know why I don't think he is as much as you think he is? Because while they don't really want to throw to the running backs a lot, there aren't any other running backs that get on the field. Like Mason plays 75+% of snaps every week, runs all of the running back routes, unless you consider like Kyle Juszczyk. But Isaac Garenda played 5 snaps last week. Mason played 47, 53-10 the week before that, 57-1 before that. He's just on the field the whole game.
Very legitimate. No pushback whatsoever.
Give me your favorite low tier.
It's
gross, man.
DeAndre Swift.
I've had a feeling you were going to go there.
Yeah. Again, it's the same thing I keep talking about. I like guys where there's a lot of different ways. If he scores, he's probably getting there. He had 16 carries last week. That's really good. He had 7 targets last week. That's extremely good.
Huge. Rookie quarterback leaning on the pass catching running back is big. He is my number 1 as well, but I'll give you another one just to make it more enjoyable for you guys watching. And I actually think he's in an okay spot. I want you to try. If you guess this, I'll be pretty surprised here because it's a gross range.
Jerome Ford.
No. I can't go to Cleveland with that offensive line right now. Running backs.
What, Chase Brown?
No, but I think I think everything I've said about him being I think I was early on Chase Brown And I'm beginning to, to be vindicated in my beliefs that Chase Brown deserves and will get more work. We saw it. We saw it on Sunday.
Who is the? I honestly don't even
It's
know who's
okay. It's a
left.
tough one. What do you think about Javonte?
Yeah, so it's funny when I was trying to figure out who you were guessing, I looked at that and I was just like, I
Only because he's really cheap.
what's the hold on, let me look at the I'm on Odd Chopper right now. Let me look at the total here.
Probably like,
36 and a half.
what is it?
36 and a half.
Oh, that's good. Broncos 2.5 point favorite still.
I get what you're doing. I definitely think it's a discussion. His touchdown equity is tricky
That's a problem.
because you can't get there without that.
It is DeAndre Swift for me. So put us
Oh, I
both
hear
in the
you.
DeAndre Swift bucket. But I wanted to throw Javonte out there. 16 attempts last game. He does get some opportunities in the passing game. The only other thing I'll say about this, if you look at the teams they've faced, right? Like Tampa's hard to run on. They didn't have Vita Vea, but they're still a pass funnel defense. They faced the Jets. They faced Pittsburgh, and they faced Seattle in Seattle to start off the season. As far as it goes for Bo Nix in this offense, they have not had an easy schedule at all for the offense.
Certainly haven't gotten any favors there. I'll agree with that. Yeah, you just know what you're getting into. By doing that, it opens up some different things.
Let's get to wide receivers. Jeremy Savage said Swift had his blow up game, won't have another till the next season. You know what, brother? You could be right.
Definitely could be right.
But you probably are right. But at the same time, if you're going down into that range, feel free to throw out some guys to me that we missed. They're not there. The Panthers allowed 144 rushing to Cincinnati. To the Raiders, nothing, but Raiders just stopped running the ball because they fell behind so early. Chargers, they allowed 219, and to the Saints, they allowed 180. This is not a good run defense. This is a poor tackling defense. If Swift was going to have back-to-back good games, this would be it. This would be it.